He shut down Kevin Durant's GOAT case completely and made it look effortless. For years, KD has been inserting himself into that elite conversation alongside Michael Jordan and LeBron James. 2 championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, and arguably the most fluid scoring ability the game has ever produced. Nobody is disputing any of that. But then, Shaquille O'Neal sat down on his podcast and dismantled that entire argument like it was never built on.
Like me. I'm not in the GOAT contest, but I am one or two of the most dominant.
When Shaq speaks on basketball, people stop and pay attention because his words carry the same kind of weight his presence did on the court. He made his position crystal clear. Kevin Durant does not belong in the GOAT conversation, not even in the same vicinity. Instead, Shaq placed him in an entirely different category, a tier reserved for extraordinarily gifted players who, despite all their talent, never quite broke through to that untouchable upper level. Coming from a 4-time champion who experienced greatness from the inside, that's not just an opinion, that's a verdict. And what makes this even more compelling is that this tension didn't emerge out of nowhere. This back and forth has been building since 2017, and it started in a way most people didn't see coming. During his Shaq'd in a Fool segment, Shaq was doing what he's always done, using his platform to joke around and highlight JaVale McGee's more questionable on-court moments. Most people took it in stride, but KD wasn't laughing. As McGee's teammate on the Golden State Warriors at the time, Durant stepped in and publicly called Shaq's behavior childish. And he didn't stop there. In a separate interview, KD went directly at Shaq's game with no filter whatsoever. He brought up the missed free throws, the air balls, the botched dunks, and argued that Shaq's impact was largely the product of physical size rather than refined skill. His position was essentially that Shaq couldn't operate outside the paint, and that his dominance came from being bigger and stronger than everyone around him, not from actual basketball ability. And just like that, what started as a minor disagreement turned into genuine beef. Now here's where it gets particularly interesting. At the time KD made those comments, he hadn't won a championship yet. He was openly critiquing a 4-time NBA champion while still trying to prove he could carry a team to a title on his own. That takes a certain kind of boldness, or
Oliver, quote, "He can't talk to me like that. He may think he does and he's sticking up for his teammate. He's a great player, but you ain't in the club yet. You're on the outside in line with Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and John Stockton. You're not in the club with me and those championship guys. That's why I tweeted him, mind your business."
No softening of the blow, no diplomatic cushioning. Shaq grouped KD alongside some of the most talented players in NBA history who never captured a championship. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, legends, Hall of Famers, generational talents, but still missing that one defining thing. The message couldn't have been clearer. Talent alone doesn't get you through the door. But there's a layer to this that most people skip right past. Shaq wasn't just taking shots at KD for sport. He was passing down a standard, the same standard that was handed to him. Early in his career, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar told a young Shaq the exact same thing. "You're not there yet. You haven't earned that seat." And Shaq didn't push back, didn't argue, didn't go looking for sympathy online. He took that challenge personally, internalized it, and went to work. Kareem's message was simple. Statistics without championships don't carry the weight you think they do. So Shaq locked in, dominated the league at a level few centers ever have, and came back with 4 rings as his answer. No words, just results. Fast forward to KD's era, and the response looked completely different. When Shaq and Charles Barkley began questioning the legitimacy of his championships, Durant didn't answer the same way. Rather than letting his performance on the court settle the argument, the conversation kept going off it. KD took to Twitter, at times reportedly using alternate accounts, firing back at fans, engaging in comment sections, even going back and forth with teenagers. He told the older generation to move on, and that contrast tells you everything about the generational divide at play here. Same challenge, 2 completely different responses. To really understand where all of this tension is rooted, you have to go back to May 2016, The Oklahoma City Thunder had pushed the 73-win Golden State Warriors to the brink in the Western Conference Finals, taking a 3-1 series lead. KD was dropping 30 points a night. Russell Westbrook was playing out of his mind. They had already dispatched a 67-win Spurs team and were one victory away from the finals. Everything was lined up perfectly. And then it all collapsed. Game 5 in Oklahoma City, Durant puts up 40 points on 29 shots. Impressive numbers, not enough. The Thunder lost by 9. Game 6 in Oakland, KD scores 29 but shoots 10 for 31, completely cold at the worst possible moment. The Warriors win again. Game 7, the whole world watching. Durant finishes with 27 on 10 for 19 shooting. Respectable on paper, still not enough to close it out. And across those final 3 games, Durant and Westbrook combined for 30 turnovers. 30! That's not just a bad stretch, that's a complete unraveling under pressure. They had the defending champions cornered, up 3-1, and still couldn't deliver the finishing blow. Golden State didn't just survive, they completed one of the most remarkable comebacks in playoff history and stormed into the finals. They ultimately lost to LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers in 7 games, but the
KD to win my championships.
I didn't say you did the same thing. I said you create super teams.
Under the
Just
rules.
like they exist today.
No. The beef that people have with KD is that you were up 3-1 versus the team. You lose the series to the team, then you join the team.
Yeah, you can't do that. I agree with that.
Okay, so
I agree with that statement. But you can't say that you didn't have super teams. You were surrounded by superstars everywhere you went.
But I did it under the rules of the system. When I first got to Orlando, I didn't have much. I saw that we can get him. The next year, I saw that Horace Grant was saying he wasn't coming back to Chicago. I snatched him. You know what I'm saying? So then when I leave, I go to LA. I see that, Kobe, he's coming, but he's not quite there yet. So give me a B. Shaw. Give me a Robert Ory. Give me a Fox. Like this was all done under the
Fox.
this was all done under the rule system. It ain't like we played against them and then lost them and then I said, hey.
Shaq built dynasties. KD joined one. That's the distinction that keeps coming up, and it's hard to argue around. Shaq arrived in Orlando and helped construct that franchise into a legitimate contender from the ground up. Then he moved to Los Angeles, partnered with Kobe Bryant, and restored the Lakers to championship relevance. Everywhere Shaq went, he was the centerpiece, the gravitational force that everything else orbited around. He didn't chase greatness, he generated it. KD's path looked different. He stepped onto a roster that was already operating at the highest level, a team already on course for the finals. He didn't build the engine, he boarded while it was already moving at full speed. And that distinction is exactly where the friction keeps coming from. But nothing intensified this feud quite like what happened in January 2023. Durant decided to test Shaq publicly on Twitter after Shaq admitted on television that he wasn't familiar with a particular Lakers trade target. Durant fired back with 4 words, "Shaquille don't know ball." That was all it took. Shaq didn't brush it off. He went straight at KD and delivered a line that immediately became one of the most quoted moments of the entire debate. Respect the bus driver. 4 words that landed like a statement etched in stone. The meaning was unmistakable. Shaq drives championship buses. KD rides them. KD tried to play it off, saying he got cooked just for asking a simple question, but that response didn't carry much weight. Because every time a legitimate legend steps to Durant directly, the conversation tends to get quiet on his end fast. And the numbers support the argument. During his time with Golden State, KD went 38-10 in the playoffs, a 79% win rate, 2 championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, and a stretch of basketball that was genuinely dominant. No one is disputing that. But outside of Golden State, the picture shifts dramatically. 57 wins, 50 losses, barely above 500. 0 championships away from that system. A finals loss in Oklahoma City, early exits in Brooklyn, swept by Boston, swept again in Phoenix. The pattern keeps repeating itself. So what does that pattern actually tell you? When Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green were sharing the load around him, everything functioned at an elite level. But when KD had to be the primary driving force, the results haven't matched the talent. The system made him look unstoppable. Remove the system, and the narrative changes. Big numbers remain, but the trophies don't follow. Now place that next to Shaq's resume. 4 championships, each built on a different foundation. A finals run alongside Penny Hardaway in Orlando, a three-peat with Kobe in Los Angeles, another ring with D. Wade in Miami. In every single situation, Shaq was the alpha. No committee vote required. He set the tone, controlled the tempo, and pulled franchises straight to the top. KD, by contrast, has faced early exits repeatedly whenever the responsibility has been fully on his shoulders. First round, second round, the exits keep accumulating. At some point, that stops being circumstance and starts being a pattern worth examining. But this debate has grown beyond rings. It's about what greatness actually demands and how an entire generation defines it. The older generation, Shaq, Barkley, their peers, came up under a completely different code. You don't join your rivals, you defeat them. When Michael Jordan couldn't get through the bad boy Pistons, he didn't call Dennis Rodman. He came back sharper and tougher and eventually dismantled them. When Shaq couldn't break through the Bulls dynasty, he didn't reach out to MJ. He built his own path to greatness in Los Angeles. KD sees it differently. He told Bill Simmons the game has evolved and players have more freedom now, and that's fair. But the standard for what separates good from all-time great hasn't evolved alongside it. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, all of them faced the weight of impossible expectations in their own eras, and all of them proved they could carry a team the full distance. They weren't passengers, they were the ones steering. KD keeps telling his critics to move on, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Those same critics are the ones who shape how history remembers players. They influence Hall of Fame considerations. They fuel the GOAT debates. They set the terms of legacy. And right now, a significant number of them are saying the same thing. KD hasn't earned a seat at that top table yet. So where does that leave him? At 36 years old, the window isn't wide open anymore. The talent has never been the question, not for a single moment of his career. It's the leadership questions, the unresolved legacy concerns, and the pattern of postseason disappointments that keep the conversation alive. Until he proves he can lead a team through the full journey on his own terms, that narrative isn't going anywhere. KD is now in his 4th franchise. The championship window is narrowing with every passing season. Shaq didn't sugarcoat his assessment. He said it plainly. KD belongs in a special category, one of the greatest scorers the game has ever produced, without question, but not in the GOAT conversation. And that's the label Durant has been fighting against his entire career. He doesn't want to be remembered for scoring titles and efficiency numbers. He wants his championships to carry the same cultural weight, the same undeniable respect as the names he's chasing. He wants to be seen as someone who climbed to the summit on his own power. But since leaving Golden State, that level of recognition hasn't followed him. 2 first-round sweeps, multiple teams falling short, and when the pressure peaks, things tend to fracture rather than come together. Nobody questions the skill. The shot, the efficiency, the scoring range, all of it is elite. But GOAT status has never been purely about individual talent. It's about leadership when the stakes are highest. It's about being the person who holds everything together when everything is threatening to fall apart. Until KD demonstrates he can take a team through that full gauntlet and finish with a trophy in hand, the legends aren't opening that door, and they're not apologizing for it. Because this is ultimately about legacy, about how Kevin Durant will be remembered when the career is finally over and the totals are tallied. Legacy isn't constructed in highlight moments. It's built in pressure situations where there's no exit, no system to lean on, and no one else to absorb the weight. Right now, KD's career reads like 2 separate stories running parallel to each other. One version is the unstoppable force in Golden State, surgical, dominant, impossible to guard, earning finals MVPs and looking like the best player on the planet. The other version is a superstar still searching for that same level of command and control without a loaded roster underneath him. And critics won't let go of that second version
because it keeps raising the same fundamental question. Can KD be the foundation, not just the finisher? We've seen the flashes, big games, pressure shots, stretches where he looks fully capable of taking over an entire playoff series by himself. But those flashes haven't translated into championship runs built from the ground up. And at this level, almost isn't a legacy. Compare that to the names he's measuring himself against. Jordan had to break through years of failure and heartbreak before he became Jordan. Carry franchises through pressure